Hi, I'm Chris Moy with Zpryme. I'm here with Rob Massoudi. Rob, nice to be here with you. We're at the ABB Customer Robotics Lab in California, and we're going to talk a little bit about digital transformation. Rob, you're the Global Vice President of Digital Transformation for ABB. And this is a really fantastic facility that you've got here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
I'm really interested. Right now, the electric and gas utility industry is undergoing a tremendous amount of transformation. What is driving that increasing move towards digitalization?
Well, first of all, good to meet you, Chris, and
Thank you
for coming over today. That's a great question. In that, if we just step back just a little and look at the macro picture of what's going on in the world, we see three major revolutions occurring. And these revolutions are occurring as a result of a number of things. Technology for one thing, change in regulation and change in, I think, expectations of the consumers and the customers. The first revolution is the Industrial Revolution. Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing in the Industrial Revolution is a massive transformation from the way we're doing things manually today to automation and ultimately autonomization, where machines will be directing machines, and advanced analytics and artificial intelligence will be providing significant value back to the industry as well as to the consumers. So that's a very big shift, and again, automation to autonomization, significant shift. That shift in itself is going to be significantly dependent on electricity as a major energy source. So there's a transformation also in terms of the fuel supply and the energy source to the industry that will be significant. The second revolution is in the transportation, as you know. So the electrification of transportation and ultimately the autonomization of transportation, again, is going to shift. It's going to change the face of this industry and how energy is going to be consumed and what kind of energy is going to be consumed and where it's going to be consumed. And then the third major revolution is in the energy industry itself. So as we shift from hydrocarbons to electricity, and as we shift in the domain of electricity and electric utility industries from centralized generation and distribution to much more of a democratized form of production and consumption on the edge of the network and the grid. That in itself is yet another trend that's going to change the face of the utility industry. So three major revolutions: the Industrial Revolution, the Transportation Revolution, and the Energy Revolution itself, driven by digitization and demand and democratization, will be changing the shape of all three industries, but most definitely the utility electric industry and how they define themselves going in the future.
I really like how you're framing this this democratization of energy. A lot of people have been describing this as the distributed energy revolution. What makes you want to classify it slightly differently to really kind of empower people around that topic?
What we're seeing, and increasingly what we'll continue to see, is the availability of the technology and the cost of the technology for consumers as well as industrial customers to become prosumers. And that is democratization in essence, right? So if we look at what happened in the ice industry back, where people used to go to the lake and carve out the ice, and there were only a few that would control that ice, and there was only a certain season that you could enjoy the ice, right? And then came along these ice factories, and the ice factories then could produce ice all year round, but yet still was centralized, and not everybody could produce their own ice. And then came refrigerators, and people began to produce their own ice and consume the ice. We're seeing the same democratization actually happen in the energy industry as well, right? Energy was centrally produced, then transmitted and delivered to the consumers, based on when it was produced and how it was produced, and in the way that they wanted to deliver that to the customers. And over time, what we've seen that, well, no, actually now I can go put a solar panel on my my rooftop, and the price of batteries are dropping. I'll put a battery on my on my building, and I'll produce my own energy when it's cheap and sun is plenty, and I'll store it and I'll use it at night. And so I have more control over how I produce and consume both the availability, the supply, and the resilience and reliability of that energy. So that's democratization in a nutshell.
And digitization and digitalization are crucial elements of that democratization.
Absolutely.
Because you need to be able to measure the data of how much is coming onto the grid, and then be able to communicate in real-time speed about those, to ensure that you have a well-balanced grid system.
No, that's a great point. That's a really good point, Chris. What we're seeing is all this digital technology that was developed and evolved in the consumer industry make its way into the industrial space. Now it's industrial grade. So that's really key, because what that does is exactly what you said, which is it allows me, and it's an enabler, right? All this technology are an enabler. It enables me to be able to manage, well, actually monitor and operate and manage all of this complex technology, all this complex equipment in a very easy way and cost-effective way. So again, that technology combined with other technologies, the digital technology combined with other technologies, is really enabling this democratization. Or another way to put it is prosumerism of energy. Energy is definitely, the production and consumption and the demand for energy is moving to the edge for more cleaner, more reliable, more resilient, and also more cost-effective form of energy production.